what are you doing for this, that, and the other? I can't support people through the after process if I don't talk about where I came from in the first place. So that's what this video is going to be about. I don't think I will manage, especially as I've gone through this nearly 3 times now. I don't think I will manage to do it. What's the word for it? The whole way through all at once. I think it's going to take a few attempts, a few episodes, but then once I've done that, it's going to be a case of looking forward and maybe discussing, certainly going to be discussing Christmas if I've got time, because with schedules and family and things like that, if I get time, then we'll look into Halloween and things like that, really. So without further ado, I shall start my backstory. Basically, I was born in 1975, and that may not be, resonate with many people, but for many ex-witnesses it will resonate, because that was the year that Armageddon was supposed to come. Of course it didn't. I was born instead. But I was born in 75. Now, Armageddon is supposed to be this worldwide apocalypse that God is going to bring about, and he's basically going to get rid of anybody, kill anybody who is not a witness. That is the core fundamental belief of witnesses, that the world is going to end, and that is what they preach. And if you're not a witness, if you're not on the list, you're not coming in. And those who are on the list are going to be on this paradise earth where all the animals are going to be nice to you. The lions are not going to eat you anymore, and everybody's going to be vegetarian. And at least I assume they're going to be vegetarian, because all the animals are meant to be nice to each other and eat grass and all this kind of thing. And I was promised, I was a little girl, I was going to have a panda. I was going to have my very, very own panda. And where's my panda? I don't have my panda. So, yeah, this is why I don't have my panda. This is my backstory of why I do not have my panda. So, yeah, as I say, my earliest memories are, I was born at what they call a third generation, which means that I was born in. I was born in. My parents were in, but they weren't born-ins, but their parents were recruited in. So it's grandparents' fault. So yeah, my grandparents were recruited in on both sides. From what I understand, well, by the time I came along, I think my on my dad's side, my grandfather had been an elder, which are kind of like the body. Each congregation has what they call a body of elders, and they're like they're meant to be shepherding the flock. They are the religious police, okay, which we will come up against elders later. But my grandfather was one of those, and my father grew up as an eldest son, so he was quite privileged. And before he got married, I think from what he's told me, he did a lot of stuff that he got to have a lot of really good experiences, and some of his witness upbringing was very good for him. But then it is for a lot of the men. I don't think a lot of the men really understand how badly the women are treated within the organisation. But as I say, when I came along, from what my early memories were, is that both sets of my grandparents were divorced, which was quite unusual, because, even in those days, for anybody to be divorced was unusual. But for me, to have both sets of grandparents which were not together, and they both remarried as well. Well, initially, I think my grandfather, I remember he was on his own, and then suddenly he moved to Norwich because he'd remarried. But he'd been what they call disfellowshipped, which meant that we weren't supposed to speak to him. But I think my dad did keep up contact with him, from what I remember. Disfellowshipping will be a big issue later on. But there we go. Yeah, on my other side, my my other grandparents, they were divorced, and my grandmother was the one who was disfellowshipped, apparently for smoking, because witnesses are not allowed to smoke, and smoking is a disfellowshipping offence because it's meant to be like a sort of self-abuse of the body or something. But yeah, so smoking you could get kicked out for. And we weren't allowed to speak to my grandmother. I don't remember really having much to do with her. I think I met her once when she was with she was with her cousin. She was staying with her cousin, who we refer to as Uncle R. And then the next time we saw my grandmother was that she was introducing her fiance to my mum and to my family, and we were now able to talk to my grandmother because she'd now got remarried. I don't quite know what went on there, but I believe there's meant to be, because I think because obviously both my grandparents remarried, and you're not allowed to do that unless there's some kind of infidelity that goes on within the marriage. So one can assume that there was some kind of infidelity going on, and it's not my business. It's not my business. It's the past, and I'm not a witness. I'm not judgy like that. So, it's none of mine. Whatever they did, and I try to understand people. Nobody's perfect. Everyone has faults and failings, and whatever they did, they did. Whether they deserve to be fellowship for it is another matter. I personally don't, but disfellowshipping to me is psychological abuse, and it's heavily abused within the organisation, which I'll come to later. So yeah, my grandfathers, I'll describe them as the thin granddad and the fat granddad, because that's how I remember them. The thin granddad, we didn't see that often, but we saw him when we sort of my dad often took us up to visit my auntie, his sister, and they used to live by the seaside, and we used to often go up and see them. And that was kind of our holiday, because, as I say, I'm one of 7, and my parents had 5 children together. So that sort of meant that we didn't really have a lot of money. And so, you took cheap holidays, and our holidays tended to be a few days by the seaside with the cousins walking on the beach. That was, and you walk past the amusements, which you weren't allowed to go on them, and rarely did we go on the fun fairs because parents couldn't afford to take all of us kids on the fun fairs. It just wasn't possible. And so that was how it was. And as you sort of grew up, organising, being a witness is a very, very time consuming. When I was younger, I know it's changed now from what I hear, but when I was a child, there was 2 meetings in the week, and then there was the meeting on Sunday, and then you were supposed to go on the doors. And my dad used to take us from time to time. He would take us on the doors on a Saturday morning to sort of preach and try and save people, and because that's what you're supposed to be doing. You're trying to save people from Armageddon when you knock on their doors. And that's what we did. I hated going on the doors. The reason I hated going on the doors was dogs. I was terrified of dogs, and a lot of places where we knocked on, because I live in East Anglia, and a lot of people in East Anglia, we're very, very country people. Even those who live in the towns are sort of, country-esque, I suppose. And a lot of people have dogs. So if you live on the coast, or you live sort of on the outskirts of the countryside, you have a dog. And so a lot of the time I'd be terrified chasing up the road. The dog would bark at you and they'd be twice as big as me, and I'd be absolutely terrified. And yet I'd get told off for being scared of the dogs. And so, yeah, doors, didn't like doing the doors, knocking on strangers' doors, no, didn't like it, and giving magazines and things, and, you know, being the cute kid on the other side of the door. Not a pleasant experience. Not nice for any child to have to go through. It really isn't. You know, you could say to a child, "Oh, you'll say to these children, we're all taught to say, oh yes, we enjoy it, we love it, we're doing this for Jehovah, blah 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 blah." We didn't. We despised it most of the time. But you would never say, say that you hate the doors, because you know you'd get into trouble. You know. But yeah, so that was basically my life. I mean, it was very, very boring. I hated Sundays. As a child, because it normally meant I had to have something which I absolutely love now, which is normally, my dad always did a roast dinner, or my mum always did a roast dinner on a Sunday. And now I absolutely love roast dinners. They're my favourite thing. I don't get them enough though. But excuse me a minute, somebody's hello. Bobby is trying to do a very serious video here. Dina, I'm trying to do a very serious video here.
I know.
Alright, go with Dina. Go with Athena. You'll have to excuse me.
Come on,
That's the thing about being a mum, is you get little visitations. But yeah, he's right. Time out. Back to the thing. So I think I was talking about going on the doors. But I think I'm probably, judging by the tears, I think I'm probably going to have to stop now and put this one out and come back and do another video another day, because somebody needs their mummy, and he's not too well at the moment. So yeah, he needs his mummy, and so I need to come off here. But I think I have managed to finish my video, probably not quite where I wanted to finish it. But I've made a start, so that's good for me, that I've actually made a start on this, because it's been something that I've been wanting to do for a long time. So I'm going to have to love you and leave you, and I want you to take care of yourselves, and I will get the next part out as soon as possible. Take care. Bye.